Hello, my name is Terry Reynolds of Save Video Productions. The following program is not a New Channels production, and New Channels has no responsibility for the content or opinions expressed therein. This is the Town of Volney monthly board meeting of April 14th, 1994. Thank you again. My name is Terry Reynolds from Save Video Productions, and here are some dogs from the dog kennel that are up for adoption.
My sweetheart. Okay. I'm Gloria Raymond. I help out with the dog adoptions. We got a beautiful little terrier here. He's a nice little boy. He's probably about 3 years old, and he's looking for a nice home. He's a very quiet dog, very seldom makes any noise. Excellent to walk. He doesn't run like crazy, so he'd be good for an older person or family dog.
Benji, look over here. Hey.
Benj, turn around, babe. Okay, so that's a boy, Benj. Good boy. Yes, you're a good fella. So if anybody's interested in Benji, please give us a call. He's a beautiful dog, and he'd make a lovely pet.
Sit, boy.
Sit.
Sit.
Yeah,
Sit.
sure.
Sit, boy. Hey.
Okay, we have here
Down.
a husky mix, male, approximately about a year old, full of vim and vigor. Make a real nice pet. Very strong. And you're a good boy, and you're out of breath, aren't you?
Hey, calm down.
You're good. Good
Calm
boy.
down, boy. Look.
Good boy.
All right.
Very well marked.
Calm
He's
down.
just very
Sit,
excited,
sit,
that's
sit,
all.
Sit. Attaboy. Sit.
Good boy.
Sit.
You're good.
Sit.
He gets relaxed after a while. He just likes a lot of attention.
All right.
It's okay. You're all right.
Okay, boy.
Okay. Okay, right now, whoops, we have a black setter and lab mix.
Sit.
It's a male.
Sit.
He's probably about 2 years old. He has a little bit of white on his chest. Real lively dog, likes a lot of attention. He's very good on a leash. Right now he's not showing it, but he is good on a leash.
Yeah.
He's just excited, that's all. He's just excited.
Okay, you be good girl. Come on. You good dog. All right.
Let's
all
walk
right.
him just a bit. Come on.
Okay.
You're all right. You okay, boy? You all right? Yes, you're all right. Where you going? You're a good boy. Come here. You're a good boy. Yes, you are.
All right. Sit. Be good. Be good now.
Yeah, it's all right. It's okay. It's all right. Yes, you're all right.
Frisky. Go to frisky.
Okay, this one is a little female, probably about 6 months old. A shepherd mix, I would imagine. She was brought in today on the 14th. If anybody owns her or is missing her, please call us at 598 Dogs or 593-6124. And these guys are up for adoption. There's a $10 adoption fee. They're all nice dogs, just looking for a chance to make somebody happy.
(7:03). I'd like to call the meeting to order. Jess, would you say the pledge? Lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
Barb, will you call the roll, please?
Counselor Pierce?
Here.
Counselor Ridgway?
Here.
Counselor Smart? Here. Counselor Warner?
Here.
Supervisor Rose?
Here. First order of business this evening is a public hearing on local law number 3. If anyone wishes to speak tonight, I'll allow you 5 minutes. And at the end of the session, if someone needs to make any other statements, I'll allow you to make some brief statements second time around. The local law deals with payment of planning board expenses and the approval of subdivisions and site plan approval. I'll open the floor to any questions or concerns. Are you interested in speaking, Kevin?
Well, yeah, just 1 second here. Come on, people, it's an important issue. You guys to say something.
Kevin?
My name is Kevin Conley. I'm chairman of the planning board for the town of Volney, and at our meeting on Tuesday night, we spent quite a bit of time reviewing this local law and came to some specific conclusions regarding it. Our job as a planning board is to make recommendations to the town board regarding proposals such as local laws, zoning changes, and things like that. As you're all aware, the town board makes the final decision on that, but as people who have been appointed by the town board to serve the town in a planning capacity, our recommendations are considered an important aspect in this decision-making process. In review of this proposed town law regarding payment of planning board expenses in the approval of subdivisions, and I believe there was added site plan approval?
Correct.
Okay. The board came to the following conclusions. I'd like to say that a lot of time was spent on this and there was a lot of discussion made. First of all, the board does feel that there's a value to this, that a law like this would serve a purpose, that there are situations where having this law would be of benefit to the town as a whole. You know, in recent history, if you look at the Wide Waters development, that would be a perfect example where having the ability to submit those plans to an outside body for review would have helped out a lot. We did not have that opportunity at that time. But on the same hand, the members of the planning board feel that the law should be very clearly spelled out. It should have its limitations. It should be applied in certain situations. And there was a fear among planning board members that if that is not done, there's an opportunity for abuse. There are townships that I'm aware of that have a law like this where it's an automatic process that if a plan is submitted to them, they automatically submit it to the engineer who automatically charges the maximum fee allowed for review of it. We would like to make sure that it's done only in specific cases. What the planning board suggested to the town board regarding that concerns mostly paragraph C, okay? And I would like to just briefly read, I think you have a copy of our resolution. If you don't mind, and if I have the time, I'd just like to read it very briefly. What the planning board recommended to the town board was to have section C read as follows, if you all have a copy of it. Developers of proposed major subdivisions or major subdivisions involving infrastructure improvements or large commercial projects involving site plan approval, when deemed necessary by the planning board, shall pay the fees for all professionals engaged by the planning board to advise it regarding such applications. The amount of said professional fees shall be set by a schedule of such professional fees established by the town board and paid prior to issuance of final permit by the planning board. In the case of residential subdivisions, such fees shall not exceed $1,500. What we tried to do in that is expand this law to include, and I think that's being considered by the town board, to include site plan approval, large projects. For example, if the hospital comes into the township, that might be a good idea. Wide waters, again, is another example. But on the same hand, we felt, as a board as a whole, that in the case of subdivisions, it should be limited only to major subdivisions that have roadways or septic systems or water lines put in, and that it should only be done if the board deems it necessary. It's the opinion of the board that we want to have this law serve the purpose that it's intended to serve, but at the same time not be looked upon by developers or not be looked upon by members of the public as some additional regulation or as some additional expense that the town is trying to pour on developers, I guess. So we tried to clearly delineate it in that fashion. Section D, we felt as a board, we had a lot of difficulty with Section D, and we understand what the board's getting at, but we couldn't specifically determine in paragraph D, are we talking about a code enforcement officer? Are we talking about the highway superintendent? We understand that it's the highway superintendent's job to improve roadways. Should he be charging a fee? If they don't like it, should they charge the fee twice? So we felt it was a recommendation. I want to stress that this is only a recommendation, that it was a recommendation of the planning board that at this time, Section D be removed and possibly be dealt with separately, since Section D does not really involve the planning board in any way. Again, I want to stress that the board did believe that this law does serve a purpose, that it is something that would be of benefit to the town as a whole. The concern of the planning board members, most of which were appointed this past January by the present town board, it is the concern of the planning board members that the law be just very strictly defined, very clearly spelled out, to avoid any possibility of misunderstanding on the part of the public at hand or at large, and to ensure that there is no possibility of abuse. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. I'm sorry I came a little late.
Thank you, Kevin. Is there any comment from the public at all? Charlie.
Charlie Smart. I'm just not sure of the $1,500 limitation. Are you saying that that would apply to all projects or to developments?
No, we only specified subdivisions. We felt that that would be adequate for subdivisions, but if you're talking about like a wide waters or a hospital, obviously it could be considerably more than that.
Okay, I still wonder in terms of size, because although we have seen nothing like it in this town, there are subdivision tracts that go in that include hundreds of homes, and I would think that perhaps putting a limit of $1,500 on all commercial or residential subdivisions might be a little stringent in a future case of that nature.
Thank you, Charlie. Anybody else? Thelma?
Kevin, if I can just point out, one of the reasons why we
Could you
put...
give your name for the
Oh,
clerk?
Thelma Tormina, Kingdom Road. And I'm a member of the planning board. One of the reasons why we limited it to $1,500 is we can really see the town as it's going along now with the new bulk and density schedules that we have now in place. We can see a lot of smaller roads going in, and we're afraid that if you just put a higher figure on it, engineering firms it's just going to be handed out, and these engineering firms are going to charge the maximum on everyone that's out there, and somebody that's just putting in 6 to 10 lots really shouldn't have to pay, $5,000 or $6,000, whereas maybe a larger development would, which maybe we could, but at least this way, we have a limitation on it, so it's not saying to the outside developers that Volney does not want them to come into this town, and we're just trying to put one more regulation and money-wise, monetarily, in your way so that you don't come in. That was the major reason for the $1,500.
It was written vaguely by the board because it will be addressed in a separate fee schedule. It doesn't mean there won't be limitations to make it very obvious, but this way we won't have to have a public hearing every time we adjust a schedule.
Well, that was just our fear.
Thank you, Zelma. Does anyone else care to speak? Someone want to make a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn the public hearing.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Barb, will you poll the council?
Counselor Pierce?
Aye.
Counselor Ridgway?
Aye.
Counselor Smart?
Aye.
Counselor Warner?
Aye.
Supervisor Rose?
Aye. Okay, I'd like to call the regularly scheduled meeting to order. Let the record show that the same people are present. Barb? First order of business is Resolution 94-104. Move that the minutes of the regular town board meeting on March 10th, 1994, and the special meeting of March 23rd, 1994, having been distributed, be approved without reading.
Second.
Any discussion from the board?
Well, the only discussion I have is there was something said at the last town board meeting about my changing my mind on how I was voting on the minutes. The only reason in the past few months I voted like that, we've had a lot of meetings and a lot of minutes. We have reviewed them before we voted on them, but my feeling still remains the same. And I hope we get back to just having regular meetings where we don't have 5 or 6 pages or minutes of meetings to read. That's
Okay.
all I have.
Okay. Barb, will you poll the council?
Counselor Pierce?
Aye.
Counselor Ridgway?
Aye.
Counselor Smart?
Aye.
Counselor Warner?
Well, I was under the gun on it. I'm going to vote no because there are long minutes, but like I said, every now and then they should be read.
Supervisor Rose?
Aye. Next resolution, 94-105. Move that the vouchers numbered 141 through 198 in the amount of $43,476.90. General fund, and vouchers numbered 52-281 in the amount of $37,117. Highway fund, having been audited, be approved, and the supervisor be authorized to pay same from funds available. Does someone want to move that?
I'll move it.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Barbie, poll the council.
Counselor Pierce?
Aye.
Counselor Ridgway?
Aye.
Counselor Smart?
Aye.
Counselor Warner?
Aye to the ones I signed. I believe there was 2 that I didn't sign.
Supervisor Rose?
Aye. Next order of business, communications. I only have one communication that I think would be of interest to anyone this month, and it's a real interesting one. It's from the New York State Commission of Investigations concerning the investigation request that we made to the state. Dear Mr. Rose, this is in response to the Volney Town Board's resolution requesting the Commission conduct an investigation into specific circumstances involved in the development of a mall on property located in the town of Volney. Specifically, the Board requests that the Commission determine whether County Attorney Bruce Clark, formerly a co-owner of the mall property, engaged in a conflict of interest and engaged in a conspiracy when he and the co-owner presented a petition to annex the property into the city of Fulton. In addition, you request the Commission to examine the role of the Oswego County Industrial Development Agency with respect to the development of the mall property. The Commission has reviewed this matter and has determined that Commission action is not warranted inasmuch as your documents indicate that the Town of Volney has retained an attorney to litigate the annexation issue, and the Oswego County Ethics Board is reviewing the conflict of interest matter. The Commission appreciates the Town Board bringing this matter to its attention. Sincerely, Helene B. Gurian, Deputy Commissioner, Chief Counsel. I called them about it and expressed my disappointment, citing the fact that the Oswego County Ethics Board is part of the concern that we had and needed to be looked into themselves, along with all the other dealings that the county has had with us in this annexation issue. Also, I reminded them that our attorney was hired to litigate the issue, not to do an investigation of Bruce Clark or the IDA. They told me that they would consider those comments and get back to me. I don't know what that means exactly, but I don't expect a whole lot. Just like any business, government works kind of the same way. They don't like anything to tarnish their image, and I believe that this is government protecting itself, and I didn't expect a whole lot when we called for their investigation anyway. But I'll keep you posted if anything else changes. Committee reports. Assessors.
Okay,
You have
I'm
anything?
sure as most of you know, since you got the letter in the mail, the assessors have been very busy due to the realignment of the assessments, and whether anyone questioned the assessment or not, it's a lot of additional paperwork they had to go through to make it so that the assessment in the mail is the one that will be on the tax roll when you get your school tax bill. In addition to that, the assessors, Howard and myself, have also been meeting with Owens, Illinois, and Miller Brewing about their assessment, and those negotiations are ongoing at this point.
Thank you, Claudia. Planning Board?
We had our last meeting on Tuesday, and obviously, we had extensive discussion regarding some of the proposed zoning changes that are being recommended by the Zoning Update Committee. And one of the resolutions we did pass, just to let you know, one of the areas that the Zoning Update Committee has been working on is the whole idea of definitions. And you would think that definitions are not very important, but I think that if you attended the ZBA meeting last night, you'd find out that definitions are very important. They can be used against you if they're not very clear. And the Zoning Update Committee has been spending a lot of time working on them. The Planning Board reviewed the definitions that were completed and recommended, well, the resolution basically said that the Planning Board approves of the progress made by the Zoning Update Committee in terms of revising the section on definitions. While the Board feels some minor clarifications may be needed, the Board approves of the revisions made so far and recommends their adoption, and the only exception is the definition regarding excavation. We've had some disagreements regarding excavation, and we could not come to a resolution Tuesday night on that, and it's something which maybe we can work on with the Zoning Update Committee. The other area, as I mentioned earlier, was regarding the local law regarding payment of fees, engineering fees. We spent a lot of time on that. We had a couple people we thought were coming down Tuesday night, but they did not come down. So the only thing I want to say is if you want to see your projects completed in a timely manner, you got to come to the meetings. So that was unfortunate. The only other thing I'd like to mention is our next meeting will be on May 17th. Another thing that's going on that I feel is very important is the Oswego County Planning Federation, which is a group of planning and zoning officials of municipalities throughout the county, has been meeting. They've received a grant, I don't know if you read it in the paper, of $6,000 that is being put towards putting together a site plan review process that is basically standardized throughout the county. So that if you're going to build your first business in Volney and your second business, let's say in Scriba or Williamstown, you would go through basically the same process, fill out basically the same forms. The Planning Federation identified that a few months back as an area to work on. They've been working on it. We've had, at this time, I'm chairman of that committee, or that federation, Larry Rowley has been helping us on it from the township as a developer. We have brought together developers, lawyers, engineers, architects, as well as planning and zoning officials so that we can take the whole process and deal with it from all aspects. And then when it's done, hopefully knowing that all these different aspects have been involved, have something that people agree on. The other area that they're working on that I wanted to bring to your attention is sometime in May, I don't have the date yet, we will be having a meeting, and at that meeting we're going to be bringing the DEC and other people in, and it's going to be centered on the idea of mining, trying to explore the mining issue, its relationship to municipalities, what the DEC's responsibilities are, what municipalities' responsibilities are, hopefully explore some of the confusion and problems, and maybe all of us gain a little insight. That seems to be a problem in many municipalities, and a lot of it is just what can a town do versus what does the DEC do. So we're, as soon as I get the date on that, I'll let the board know. Thank you very much, and that basically covers it.
Thank you, Kevin. I had one thing that you put in my box concerning the pits and the mines and so on. I haven't had a chance to review it with the board yet, but I did discuss it a little bit with our code enforcement officer. Right now, he feels that this would be quite a bit of work for him to take on with everything else he's doing, and I'm not sure how we would handle this, if we would have our code enforcement officers do it or make some other attempt to get it done.
Well,
but,
it's up, you know, what the board feels, and this was recommended, I believe, at the the March meeting, excuse me, was possibly having the assistant code enforcement officer or the code enforcement officer over a series of months, you know, over the course of this year, start to begin an inventory of the pit mines in the township. What state are they in? Are they active? Are they inactive? Who owns them? Has any reclamation been done? You know, just basically get an idea of, do we have a problem or don't we have a problem? And possibly in a year or two, we can present that material and then determine whether it is a problem, it's not a problem, or whether it's something that needs to be addressed. But I always feel that the best thing is let's identify what we've got first. Who owns them? What state are they in? I was looking at it from the point of view that code enforcement officers are normally expected to drive through the town through the course of months and stuff. Maybe as part of their job, they could start noting where these exist, and then at some time, maybe in conjunction with the assessors, determine ownership and things like that. Mm-hmm. But it's certainly not something we would expect to be done right away.
Right, well, I think it's an excellent idea.
Over the summer can be utilized or something.
Yeah, I think it's an excellent idea, and I'm sure we'll do it. And we might alleviate a situation like they have in Granby right now by doing so. Zoning Board, Marie?
Last night we had a ZBA meeting, as Kevin has mentioned, and it is true, the definitions are very important. That's what we base our whole zoning on many times. And I'd like to thank Bill and Kevin who've taken the time to go through the minutes and do the research and have updated the zoning pages so we can have one consistent manual for everyone. And it's been a big help, and I know it's a lot of work, and I really appreciate Kevin and Bill taking the time to do that. I'd like to mention last night that we had the Curfew application come before us, and he was granted approval based on a non-conforming status for this restaurant. He's going to replace the old Cambria restaurant, restaurant bar and establishment, and now it is going to be ice cream stand restaurant. There was still some clarification on that. We felt that it was a good plan, and he come with a good architectural plan, and he come with his attorney, and he presented a very good case before the board last night, so that was approved. Also, we had an application for a double-wide trailer, and it was a Norm Brewer who received a permit from the former building inspector back in October. However, there was some problems with that, and it's been held up, and we did grant him permission to go ahead based on some certain conditions, and that's another thing that's going to have to be addressed in the future, is another clarification. And Bill Wade, I spoke to him this afternoon, Howard, and I guess he's meeting with you to go over some things on some clarifications of definitions. So that would be very helpful for the board if we can get that clarified. And the other thing that come before us last night was a request by Mike Hammond. He is in the process of, he's an ownership of a building that has just been rented out as a church, and there's been some concern about that. And the building inspector has also stopped that procedure right now. And what we've tried to do is assist Mike so he can use this building for some capacity. He is the ownership. He's tried to rent the building out. He couldn't. And so he come before us, and we suggested he come before you tonight with a petition for a zone change. So he will be presenting that to you tonight, and hope that you will schedule a public hearing for him. Basically, that was the big issue that took place last night was the Kerfing issue. He has now got to go before the planning board for site plan approval. I assume that he went Tuesday night. I guess he didn't. So that'll be another month before he can do anything. So I would think that if, somebody should be in contact. We did tell him last night, go for site plan approval. Maybe Kevin, if you talk to Bill Wade or something, they did tell him that they should mention it to him, that is the next procedure. And our meetings are the second Wednesday of the month. We were considering changing them for the building inspector, but he can make the next month's meeting, so there's not a problem. So until there is a problem, if Bill can't make it, we would request that Cindy be there, and it seems to be okay right now, so we're going to continue with the second Wednesday of the month. And it was very helpful. He answered a lot of questions last night. I really appreciate him taking the time to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Marie. Building Inspector, Barb, do you have a report?
There was 2 manufactured homes for a fee of $288.80, 1 grocery store footing for $45, 1 single-family home for $333.90, 1 addition for $64.80 for a total fee of $732.50. They issued 4 certificates, 1 certificate of occupancy, 2 certificates of compliance for wood stoves, 1 certificate of compliance for a septic system. The inspections were 12 construction inspections, 1 fire safety inspection, and 1 fire safety re-inspection. And it's respectfully submitted by William Wade, Code Enforcement Officer.
Thank you, Barb. Dog control, Jerry?
Since the last meeting, we picked up 10 dogs. We had 1 dog picked up by the owner out of 10. That's the only one that had license on it, right? The other 9 is just running at large. 2 dogs have been adopted, 3 dogs had to be taken to Oswego. 4 dogs are left in the kennel right now. So far this month, I've handled over 100 complaints or dog calls or nuisance calls. 1 person's been bitten by a dog. Since the last meeting, we got a live dog trap, which is working very well. On 1 owner's property alone, we've caught 3 dogs off that property where they've been nuisance to them. And I moved it to another property yesterday, and we got a dog again this morning. So the trap is working very well. Guess that's about it.
Thank you, Jerry. While we're on the subject of dog control, I want everyone to know, too, that Terry Reynolds is doing an added service with the videotaping tonight. He videotaped the dogs in the kennel before the meeting, and he's going to put that at the beginning and the end of the videotape when he shows it on TV, so that people will have another opportunity to see what dogs we do have in the pen and maybe can identify their own or maybe want to adopt a dog. So I thank you for that, Terry. Highway, Barb, do you have a report for Bob?
Yes. He had 18 days plowing snow, 14 days machinery maintenance, 2 days coal patch, 1 day cleaning out beaver dams on Hawk Road and Maple Avenue. The wages for March 1994 were $26,962.02. Road repair and machinery repair bills were $37,123 for the total of $64,062.27. And this was prepared by Bob Kerfing, Highway Superintendent.
Thank you, Barb. Recreation. Bob Roundtree has another commitment tonight. Besides being our rec director, he's also advisor to the junior class at Oswego High School, and I believe they have some type of prom practice or something tonight they had to be at, but he gave me his report to read to you. March 5th, 1994, we had 53 children and 25 adults attend the family ice skating night at the Fulton Ice Rink. March 18th, 1994, on a very icy night, 31 children and 9 adults attended bingo night at the municipal building. Everyone had a great time. April 8th, we had 19 children. Can't read his writing here. I'll come to the town hall for games. They played pillow something floor hockey. But Bob's going to have to type this next time if he wants me to read it. and long base. I'm not sure what that is. Jesse,
Base-
you know what that is?
softball.
Oh, you were here for that. Okay, yeah, because the next sentence says Jesse Warner was an excellent referee and Lila Burton and Bob Roundtree chaperone. The April and May schedule. April 8th, more games are scheduled. Floor hockey, dodgeball, kickball, steal the cow, pillow polo, softball for grades 4, 5, and 6. Friday night from 7 to 8:30 p.m. On April 16th, oh, that was last week, I'm sorry. April 16th, that's this Saturday, arts and crafts table games, grades 3 through 8 from 9:30 to 11 a.m. I'm going to help Bob in this one. In my business, the last 5 years since computers have taken over the sign industry, we work with a lot of vinyl films these days, and there's a lot of scrap material left over from that. And I was saving it up for a while in hopes that the county might be able to recycle it or somebody might be able to recycle the material. And I saved several large garbage bags full of vinyl films to no avail because there's no technology that will recycle it yet. So I thought maybe I could take those scraps and be creative with it with the kids. So we're going to be cutting up all the little scrap pieces of sticky vinyl film and do mosaics and different pieces of artwork using the scrap pieces of vinyl. So that's a form of recycling that we can maybe take advantage of. May 15th, family roller skating at the Bailu. Sunday evening, 5 to 7 p.m. Children free, adults $2.75. The admission includes skates. May 27th, the Twin Magicians, Magic and Balloons, all ages, Friday night, 7:15 to 8:45 p.m. All events will be held here at the Volney Municipal Building unless otherwise noted. And all events are free to Volney children. That's the recreation report. Others. Does anyone have any other committee reports they need to give? Okay. This isn't a committee report, but I want to mention that I'm looking into a grant under a Highway Beautification Act that the state has that provides monies to do different things to beautify areas along state highways. And Route 3 being right outside here along this property that we own is a prime site for some type of development, and I thought maybe if they could put in some kind of a drive-off rest stop area with some picnic tables and maybe beautify that area, maybe even a little bridge across the creek here tying it into the town hall, whatever. I've got the LaBerge group out of Albany, New York, looking into the possibility of getting a grant for something like that, and they will give us their recommendations as to what could be done with the site. And hopefully something will materialize, and I'll be reporting on it if it does. Okay, old business. Does anyone have any old business? Okay, I just have one item I'd like to announce. At a special meeting we've had since our last meeting, we made an appointment of Mike Parsnow as our Assessment Board of Review Chairman, which we had difficulty getting someone to take it initially, but he volunteered to take that. And you can understand why with the assessment roles changing and so on. It's going to be a tough position to take this year. Next item on the agenda is public comment on resolutions only. I'm going to omit that from the agenda tonight because our meetings have been going on quite long lately, and part of the reason for that is that we have the public comment on resolutions, then we turn around and discuss it ourselves and turn it back to you to discuss it again, so we're kind of repeating the process. So you're still going to have an opportunity, but instead of letting you speak first on the resolutions, we're going to discuss it and then give you that opportunity. And hopefully that'll cut the time of these meetings down a little bit, but still give you the opportunity to speak. So with that, I'm going to move right on to resolutions and discussions. Our first resolution, 94-106. Whereas it has been presented to the Volney Town Board a stipulation by the City of Fulton and Widewaters Pierce Drive Associates to extend the 90-day decision period provided for under the annexation laws in order to permit completion of the seeker process currently under coordinated review, and whereas per authorization of the board, the supervisor has heretofore executed the stipulation on behalf of the town. It is hereby resolved that the execution by the supervisor of the stipulation is ratified and hereby deemed approved and adopted by the town of Volney from the date of its signature by the town supervisor. Would somebody like to move that?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Discussion from the board. Any discussion from the public?
I was informed under public comment, and that's the place to bring it up. when you need or want a light in front of a intersection, you know, where one road meets another road.
Okay, this is only on resolutions. We will have public comment at the end of the meeting. That's how we always do that. At the end of the meeting, we'll have public comment time for any questions you may have on any topic. But right now, we're only dealing with the resolutions one at a time, public comment. So if you want to save it till then, we'd be glad to talk to you about it. Okay. On this particular resolution, does anyone have a comment on this resolution?
Well, that's what I thought you talked about. Supervisor Rhodes, could you explain this resolution to me a little bit, please?
This resolution? Okay, this resolution has to do with the seeker process that we filed a positive declaration on and put it over to Fulton to deal with. They also declared it a positive declaration, and they have to go through a process of seeker. Are you familiar with that?
No.
Well, I'm not going to be able to explain it to you fully because it's pretty complex, but...
Try to keep the basics.
Okay, it's an environmental review process of the property in question, okay? And we asked them to do a hard look at it, do the long-form seeker to determine if there are any impacts that need to be addressed, okay? It's a coordinated review, meaning we're both involved in it, okay? Because of the seeker process, they've extended the time to vote on the issue. Initially, after the public hearing on the annexation issue, we had 90 days from the date of the public hearing to vote in the affirmative or the negative on the issue. By virtue of the seeker process, you really can't vote on that issue until the seeker process is completed. And therefore, this is asking for us to extend the time, okay, an agreement to extend the time between the city and the town until the seeker process is completed before a vote is taken.
Yes, Howard, but in the annexation law, there is no provision for seeker, so there is no provision for extending the 90-day time limit, and if we don't vote on time, we have voted yes.
According to our attorney, that's not true, Claudia. You know, we've discussed it with
That is the basic rule of
That is the
the
basic rule, right.
90-day. And there is some question about whether or not an agreement like this would be binding. And if the city voted at the last minute and voted on time, that would make it so that it very likely would invalidate this, and we would have voted yes by default.
Okay,
Point of information. Claudia, are you speaking on Resolution 94-106 or?
106.
Is that what you're saying, that we shouldn't pass this resolution?
Yes.
If I may, wait a minute, there's a person on the floor with a question that I'd like to speak to.
I'll hold my comment a minute until the board finishes discussing it a little bit, because maybe I'll pick up the information I'm looking for, if I may.
I didn't understand when we did this that there was any problem, because it was my understanding that this board, because we could not, we're not authorized to take a vote on the night that this came to us from our attorney, we authorized or said to the supervisor, go ahead, sign this, and we will approve it at our next regular meeting. And that was my understanding, that Resolution 94-106, it's already been signed by the supervisor because we've authorized him to do that. So this is for information only. There's another issue.
That's not valid. That's not valid. It's not valid without a vote, Joe.
My understanding was
No, the lawyer said that night that we can validate his signature later so he can sign, but it isn't valid without a board action.
That's correct.
I'm not arguing.
No, you're absolutely right, Claudia, and that's what we're doing tonight.
That's what we're doing. We're
ratifying
validating it right now.
The discussion that we had 2 weeks ago.
We agreed that this was something we were going to do as a board, that we were going to authorize the supervisor to do this, and that we were going to vote this at our next meeting. This is what we said we were going to do, and you sat there and you did not disagree with that at that time, Claudia. You agreed with us.
I talked to other legal counsel in between.
Our supervisor has signed something, and with the full, from my point of view, has said that the town stands by this, and I stand by what we said we'd sign.
Well, I've also discussed it with legal counsel, and they tell me this is the proper thing to do. And, yeah.
Floor still mine?
Yeah, floor's still yours.
From what I understand, that it's what you had signed was to agree to extend having to take a vote
on the annexation issue. Now, I don't know if I understand everything quite right, but somebody, someplace along the line, I picked up the information that around the 20th of April would have been the deadline.
That is the deadline.
That is the date that's correct. Now, I also understand that just what Councilor Ridgway was just inquiring, that the board has previously agreed to stand, behind what you signed. Now, if by chance, and I might just bring this to the board's attention because I remember here a while back, Alderman Lincoln in Fulton admitted that he set up a smoke screen for us and did us in, or tried to, may have done it. So it's what I am asking the board, and if you do not sign this tonight, or if the board says, no, Supervisor Rose, we won't sign this with you tonight, that would mean that you did not agree, and we would have to vote tonight and say, yes, we're going to annex it, or no, and that we don't want to annex it. And if you do agree, and if somebody in the city of Fulton is trying to set you up again, which they did before, then they could they not all of a sudden, we don't want to extend it, and all of a sudden this town be we could get snookered, is what I'm saying. Is that a possibility?
I don't believe so myself. That's my personal opinion, Leonard.
I ask my question, you don't believe it is, but maybe I rephrase a little bit. Is it a possibility that it could happen that way?
Anything's possible.
So it could happen. So I guess why I'm asking the town board, I don't believe that we should burn our bridges behind us. Absolutely not. And I don't know what is right, if we should let it get annexed or not, try to cut a deal because we spent too much money or not. Personally, I don't believe we should burn bridges behind us, but I don't believe that we should be burning our bridge in front of us. And I think something that we should be very careful of and remember is when we were dealing with somebody, if it was fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. And I believe that you should consider this and maybe take a vote if this board is still animate about saying, no, we don't want annexation, because it'd be easier to change our mind the other way.
Well, in my opinion, this would be burning our bridges behind us if we didn't sign this tonight, because by signing this tonight, we are making that formal agreement with the city in good faith to extend the period of time, which is already extended, by the way. This is a formality just to secure that.
But I understand if the rest of the board doesn't ratify this...
I'm sorry, could you please be quiet while we're speaking here? Really, Colleen, I'd appreciate it.
It's my understanding, though, if the board didn't ratify this, then even though, unfortunately, you would lose some face, your signature on that other document would be null and void. Is that correct?
Signature on which document?
Where you signed, where you...
Oh, my document? Yeah,
Yeah.
the one I signed, right. If the board doesn't vote to ratify it, obviously, yeah, it would not be valid.
You
But
lose a little face
if we don't agree to this tonight and sign it, then we will be forced to vote before the 20th no matter what. We won't have any choice. We will have to vote before the 20th.
We have to vote eventually, aren't we?
That's right. But we need some more time to talk about other things concerning this.
I'm just asking Supervisor and the board, be very careful, because we were hooked once before, and it could happen again, and I don't really want to see that happen.
Okay, well, I will tell you, for what it's worth, our attorney spoke with Jerome Arbito about this issue and asked why, because he was concerned himself and nervous about the possibility of them not doing it on the 19th, and then the next day, it'd be too late for us. I also was concerned, and I called Mayor Bullard about it. Both of them assured us that they will be doing that on their meeting of the 19th. They will be signing this themselves. Now, I'm saying that for you tonight, and I'm saying it for the TV audience. The whole world knows that they said that to us. Okay? Now, if they choose not to do that, they're going to look pretty bad. And also, no, not necessarily, because we signed a good faith agreement, and that would also be considered in a court of law.
And one other thing, if I might, Howard, we also said tonight that after we'd just seen this, that I would like to have a special board meeting on the 19th after the council meeting, so we could act in the event that they did try to do something like this. I don't believe they're going to. I honestly don't believe this. I firmly believe that they're doing this in good faith. Our attorneys advise us they're doing this in good faith. We, in good faith, authorized Howard to sign this, and I think we would lose a great deal of credibility everywhere if then all of a sudden we came back and said, no, we don't authorize the supervisor to do this, because I don't know what the legalities of that are.
If I just make one more quick comment, I think the board understands what I'm asking. In what you just said, Councilor Ridgway, I wouldn't be least bit surprised that since the regime has changed in Fulton, and I've known Mayor Bullard myself, and I believe him to be an honest person, and I don't believe that he would try to lead us astray. If this board was to already have, even though you've had a lot of special meetings, a special meeting set up that night, ready to roll, so it could be a legal meeting that night, that may be enough to cover ourselves.
I would think it would be. That's why I said that would serve.
As long as we could cover ourselves, I think I would be comfortable, even though I think we'd sit on pins and needles, wait and see what was going to happen. The whole thing is scary. Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren. Charlie.
I disagree. Not only did Jerome Miravito sponsor the last Chamber of Commerce thing when she spoke about annexation law, and states quite specifically within 90 days of the public hearing, the governor and board of each municipality must rule either for or against annexation. There is no case law allowing a town to extend it with agreement or without past the 90 days. Even if all parties are signatory to it, we still face the possibility of a challenge in court. And that challenge could be brought apart by somebody else. And that court would then decide whether or not it was legal to go beyond the limits of annexation law and extend it beyond the 90 days. And they could just say, well, look, boys, you might have had a good idea, you might have had good intentions, but the law doesn't provide for it and it's not legal. I don't think we should take a chance. If Fulton doesn't vote in time, they've automatically voted yes. Just as if we don't vote in time, we've automatically voted yes. That's the way the law is structured. Unless we take a no vote before the 90th day, and I would say that we should do it now, then we are taking a serious chance. John Lincoln did work behind our backs, bragged about it in the papers. There are many things yet to turn up, that's true. It's going to be a while before it goes to court. We have Freedom of Information Act requests in for the grants, for the EDZ, for the NBI, for many other things. In those things, Fulton has detailed the problems with their infrastructure because those are based on need. They detail that their problems near collapse in their sewer system, and yet they're saying, for purposes of the annexation, that their sewer system can handle anything. They can't have it both ways. We have their own documents that we can work with. I really fear that if we don't take action and vote no on annexation before the 90 days are done, even with good intentions, that can be used against us. We've automatically voted yes, and the courts could simply go back and say it doesn't matter if you voted no later. You didn't vote on time. I really, really do not wish to have that happen to us.
Thank you, Charlie. Yes. Mrs. Parsons.
My name is Fern Parsons, and I've been away and haven't been too verbal. My daughter did read a letter for me while I was away. This is about annexation and my views. To the Volney Town Board and to the officials and residents of Fulton, Volney, and Oswego County, to anyone who thinks it's right and legal to covet what your neighbor has, I have a word for you, and it's no. I have talked to many people, and they all agree with me, and the word is still no. We have the right to protect our land and assets from greedy and selfish people. The truth and nothing but the truth? Wouldn't it be great if we could listen to the politicians and lawyers and hear just that, hear the truth? In a Pollyanna book, maybe, but not in Washington or Albany or Oswego County or Fulton, and sad to say, not always in the town of Volney. My daughter, Claudia Smart, has struggled to bring the truth to you. For some reason, there are people who prefer to believe all the hogwash that some other people with ulterior motives are spreading around. I want to ask you a few questions. Do you want your children to realize that you think the American dream in the town of Volney is governed not by education or opportunity and hard work or honesty, but by power and greed and fear. When my daughter Colleen asked one board member to remember that the people who elected him expected him to listen to their views, and his answer was, "I represent the people that matter." Is this the way to do as the majority wish? By ignoring them and listening to the moneyed minority who had invested in projects that we don't agree with? Are you wondering if you're making the right decisions? Think about praying about each decision you make for the people who voted for you and expect you to do your very best and to follow their wishes. You cannot stumble if you're on your knees praying about things. The best citizens in our nation are the parents who teach their children how to pray and ask God to guide them in their daily lives. If you must whisper a prayer for your constituents, not against them for someone else's greed. If you're worrying and your knees are knocking, try kneeling on them.
Thank you, Colleen.
My name is Colleen Scott. I live on the Flood Road in Volney. I have some petitions here that I tried to give to the board Tuesday night at their work session. I was told they didn't matter because the people didn't realize that if we fought this, that our taxes might go up. I noticed that isn't mentioned here tonight. So Wednesday I made up some new petitions, and some of the old ones are here, I have to admit, but I put this sentence in. I do realize that legal fights cost money, and everybody that I had signed this petition, I made them understand. Also, another person got some petitions signed after, and this person put, "I don't mind the cost of a lawsuit." Another person wrote, I understand the lawsuit, I understand our taxes will be raised due to the lawsuit. So I just want to bring these up to the board. There's 235 signatures on here. I think that represents a lot of the people in the town. They don't want our property. Sorry, thinking about them taxing them.
Well, last night was not the place to, or Tuesday night was not the place for petitions. It was a work session, so we couldn't even accept a petition. But I don't recall anybody saying it didn't matter, Colleen. All I remember saying was that, there were some things in there that didn't tell the whole story. So, we certainly would consider it along with everything else we have to consider. But I never said it didn't matter.
Well, that's the impression that Brenda and I got, that it didn't matter. And I'm sorry, I don't believe that we can trust the city of Fulton. I don't trust them for 1 minute. They've had since November 18th, 1993, to deal with us and talk with us and try to come up with a solution. Their only solutions have been to give us a very, very small amount of money until the countywide sales tax goes through. They're trying to say they can provide sewer and water to the mall. When you read other things that they've applied for to get grants and money, their big thing that they press is that our sewer and water system is falling apart. Our infrastructure needs to be improved. I don't trust them. I hope that some of the board members don't trust them either. I realize, Howard, that you're in a funny position, and I feel bad for you.
We're all in a funny position.
No, I'm talking about the two hats that you have to wear. I understand.
My hat in the city of Fulton has nothing to do with my job here.
I didn't mean that it did. I said I feel that you're between a rock and a hard place.
I don't consider that a rock and a hard place myself.
But, I don't trust them. And like Lauren said, John Lincoln's big thing was ha, ha, ha. You people thought you were dealing with wide waters. Well, we were dealing with wide waters too. So you people just thought that you were being the plain, honest people that the people in the town of Volney are, and we were sneaking behind your backs. So I just don't think that we can trust this. I don't think it burns any bridges. As far as I'm concerned, I think the city of Fulton should be careful about the bridges that they're burning with us. That they even initiated this. That they even thought for 1 minute that it would be okay to take a community and bust it right in half. and make people from the town of Volney feel like they don't belong in the city of Fulton. And make people get so they distrust their neighbors. All because of what the government officials in the city of Fulton did. I think it's real important that we vote. That's a real gray area there about this extending the deadline. And I know that you guys are all trustworthy. I'm sure that if you signed that agreement, you'd be doing it in all honesty. That you really said that, you know, we'll go along with this, we'll extend the deadline. But I don't think we can trust Fulton. I swear, they're just so greedy. I can't believe that they can't let something else happen. Somebody else can't have something. Granby thought they were going to have something once too. And the mayor at the time in Fulton said, no, you can't have it. But if you let us annex that, the next time you people want sewer and water, we'll give it to you. Well, the only thing Granby's gotten so far is the parking lot of the mall. Apparently, City of Fulton couldn't see any interest in annexing that. They just wanted the stores. So these are the people that we're supposed to believe and trust. Well, the only thing, I've been thinking a lot about this since Tuesday. I mean, I've been thinking a lot about it since the whole issue started, but I've really been thinking a lot about it. And the only thing I hope and pray for is that I have some board members up there that I can have faith in and trust. That they're going to do the right thing for Volney. And not worry about doing the right thing for Fulton. And protect us. Because our taxes will go up if we lose that mall. Because it's not just going to be a Kmart and a P&C. It's going to be a huge mall. And I've heard that people have options on the other 40 acres behind. And so if we let this go, what's going to happen when somebody wants to develop that 40 acres? Well, we're sorry, but we've just got to take that away from you too. And that, and that, and that. No, it's got to stop. Thank you.
Thank you, Colin. Any other comment? Jim?
I feel that there are...
Full name, Jim?
Pastor Jim Hemman of the Bristol Hill Church in Volney. As a pastor, I believe that this situation is getting kind of clouded here because the board is not voting tonight on whether to allow the annexation or not. The board is deciding about whether to extend the seeker. And all I can say is that in my congregation there are more Republicans than Democrats, and we all have to get along. And I do believe that Mr. Lincoln is a Republican. And I know that if this situation come up, I think that people of his party should call him and ask him where his ethics are and where he lies in doing the right thing with this town board. I agree with Jim Ridgway that we should uphold what we have said, and that and also ask that they be accountable for what they say.
Thank you. Marie?
Marie Austin, we seem to be losing sight of it, which actually is going on here. And it's not the board that you people should be attacking. The two people that are responsible for this annexation are Bruce Clark and Larry Raleigh. It's their land. They owned it. They're the ones that want to do this. They went to the City of Fulton meeting long before they ever come down to the town board meeting. Chris and I were sitting in the audience when they walked in one night and saw us standing back there, and they couldn't believe we were there. We were there for another issue.
Don't forget Dave McFarland.
And Dave McFarland. They didn't even bring it to the town board for their approval first. They were already down in the City of Fulton. So I feel really bad for these people on this board. They've got to make a decision that's in the best interest of the town. And, you know, I know they are between a hot rock and a hard place. And it's not just Howard, it's every one of them. No matter what they do, they're going to make the wrong decision, because some people are going to say, I don't want my taxes to go up. In other words, say, I don't care, fight it to the end, win or lose. I mean, they've got a tough decision. But you people should be attacking Bruce Clark and Larry Raleigh, because they're laughing all the way to the bank. And as far as John Lincoln, he's a minority now. The rest of his group got voted out because of that nonsense. He's the only one left. He's one person. He's one vote. He's got no power down there now. And you people should be going to the city of Fulton and jumping on some of those people down there and make them be responsible. I think that the board has got to go along with the secret process because that's such an important issue that they have to deal with. And they're not saying they're approving annexation. I haven't heard that tonight, and I'm sure nobody up there wants to give our land away. I'd be the first one to say, fight to save our land. But I also know that they've got a real dilemma here because we have a tax problem going on in this town because of this reevaluation that should have never taken place. We've tried to stop that, but that went through, and now we're all going to pay dearly for that one. And who knows, maybe this is a mistake too. I mean, no matter what, the people that should be attacked are Bruce Clark and Larry Rowley because they're the ones that are saying it's our land, we want to annex it.
If we vote no for annexation tonight, it does not stop the secret process. That would continue no matter what. What one suggestion from one lawyer was, if you're concerned about the time limit and the fact that there is no case law and the fact someone could do something at the last minute, is you vote on time, then the secret process is finished, and then you can vote again when the secret process is done. It would not stop seeker. Nothing stops seeker. It's like a freight train.
Our concern's not with stopping seeker, though, Claudia. That's not the concern.
Well,
we
that
have.
was the concern Marie had.
Okay, but that's not our concern. The gentleman in the back?
Rick McCann. I live on the Silk Road, but I also own property in the city of Fulton. I work nights. I was unable to get here for EDZ to speak my piece there. I disagreed with this board on that. And I disagree with giving, or the annexation of the property. I'm a union member, and in a union, we vote to strike before they negotiate. Doesn't mean we're going to strike, whether we accept the contract or not. Goes along with what Claudia just said. We can vote no tonight in a timely manner and redo it after the secret process. That's what the union does when they give their people a strike ballot. I'd like to see this board vote no tonight and then maybe re-vote after your secret process so everything is done in a timely manner. I feel you screwed up on EDZ, and you're going right in the same direction here.
Thank you. Kevin.
Yes, Kevin Conley. I have a couple points I'd like to make regarding this resolution. I tend to agree with Jim Hinman. You have a supervisor, you got together, you told the supervisor to sign a document, and that at a later date you would validate that document. I think it's important that as a board and as a township we support the supervisor. When election time comes around, you all can vote if you want a new supervisor. But if a decision is made, I think that if we are criticizing the city of Fulton for action they took, I think it is, in my opinion, not proper to stoop to their levels. I think we should live up to a higher grade of ethics, and then at the same time have that meeting scheduled for the 19th. If they don't live up to what they've said to you and what they've put in writing that they're going to do, then have your meeting on the 19th. I think the opinion regarding annexation, I think we're pretty united in that. Again, this resolution, in my opinion, does not make or break annexation. The secret process, to me, is advantageous to the town of Volney. If we can identify a significant issue involved in annexation, it is favorable, in my opinion, to the town of Volney to have it fully researched, because possibly the only way we could keep this from going to court is by identifying a significant environmental issue or negative environmental impact that would be brought into being if this annexation took place. I think that in discussions I've had, the longer we can keep this process going, the better. It would be, to prolong the process, I think, is for the good, because we all know it's probably going to end up in court in the end anyway. But more important than that to me is, if Howard made an agreement, and if the board supported the agreement, and he researched it and discussed it, I think that we would not be acting in a ethical manner by going against it. But then again, taking proper action, having a meeting on the 19th in case the city of Fulton does not act in as ethical a manner as the town of Volney does, would be a good way to cover yourself. But I would hate to see us start doing some of the very things that we've criticized other people for doing. And I think by standing up and standing behind our people and standing behind our word is important. Thank you.
Hey, can I say something? Maybe on this resolution here, we did this at a special meeting. We all agreed that we would offer to extend the time. And we are showing them we are cooperating in good faith with them. It was their attorney hired to fight annexation that come up with this, and they had it before we did. And we had a meeting on the 23rd, and our lawyer gave it to us, and we talked about it. We agreed to have our supervisor agree to the timetable of what he wanted to do. And after that, the city of Fulton has had their common council meeting last Tuesday, and they never mentioned this extension at all. And here their main attorney that's representing them was the one that come up with this resolution. They had time to review it. If they were on to operate in good faith, like we've been trying to operate in good faith, they would have voted on it or discussed it at their last Tuesday meeting, and they didn't. I have faith in a lot of our legal proceedings on annexations that comes from the higher ups. But on the local levels, I'd put more faith in our town attorney and their annexation attorney than I would the city attorney. And I would be kind of scared that the city attorney would pull the rug out from under their own lawyer. But all this resolution does is make that agreement that we made on the 23rd legal, that we actually made that agreement. It has none, we can still vote on if we wanted, we can vote on, present the resolution tonight to vote on the annexation if we wanted, right?
That's correct.
You know, we can still vote, we can still turn the actual resolution in to vote on that annexation tonight. This agreement only has to do with what happened on the 23rd, and they didn't act on it, and it was from their own attorneys. And I agree, there's a lot of things that they themselves got to be scared about. They don't have much grounds to stand on as far as I'm concerned, and I don't like this idea of the last minute thing. I see too many things pushed through at the last minute that a lot of honest, good people have been hurt. But this one resolution doesn't mean that we're for or against annexation. It's just that we agreed with the thing that we would extend it to give them more time to complete SECA. But they didn't even address it, like I said before. And that's what makes me scary, that I watched the Common Council meeting twice on TV, and nobody made a mention of it. And they had opportunity time to do it, seeing it was their attorney that presented it. So this part, I think, is okay for that agreement part. But we can still present a resolution on the voting for the approval or the denial or the annexation on another resolution tonight if we want it. You know, that's the important issue. That's all I gotta say.
You got something, Jess?
Supervisor Rose, I'd like to say something. As Bill said, on the 23rd at our meeting, we did give the supervisor permission to sign an agreement that we would ratify it tonight. I don't like seeing that they did not, when did they say they didn't have time? If it wasn't mentioned at their April 4th meeting, they didn't have time to read this. When did they make their decision that they just got it? But I don't like Charlie says, there's no case extending it because of seeker. I don't like the April 19th meeting, and I feel that we're going to have a meeting after theirs and make a decision. But in good faith, we did authorize the supervisor to sign this document, and we would ratify it tonight, and that's all this is about. And I think we ought to have an agenda for the 19th to have a special meeting.
Okay. Is there any other comments from the public? Thelma?
If all you people up there, sitting up there, told Howard that you were going to back him on this and that it was okay to sign. It's not saying that he's agreeing to annexation. All it's saying is that he wants to extend the seeker. That's all it's saying. And you people told him you were going to back him, and then you get in front of all of us and you sit here and you say you're not going to. What kind of town board do we have?
Okay.
This was brought up to us at the last minute by our town attorney, and we had no opportunity to do any research before we gave a decision. He said he needed to have a basic idea that night, and the information wasn't exactly the way he explained it. The fact there is no case law, there is no provision for extending past the annexation. You can't be sure if it will be honored by the courts if you vote past the 90 days. The city of Fulton, I don't see why they're worried about this, why they want us to do it, because they don't need it. If they don't vote on time, the answer is yes. And it doesn't take a genius to figure out their answer is yes. Whether they frog around with seeker and take 2 months to finish that determination, they have still voted timely on seeker. They don't need to worry about whether or not this agreement can get shot down in court, and then we have voted no by default. We have voted we have voted for annexation by default.
Not if you hold a special meeting the 19th, correct?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the validity of the whole agreement is in question.
Who did you get
Not
that
just
legal
that.
advice from, Claudia? Could I ask that? Who gave you that legal advice?
Murray Giles.
Murray Jarros gave me just the opposite of what you're saying today. I don't understand why we keep getting mixed messages from these people.
He said if everybody abided by the agreement, nobody voted before the end, and it was not challenged in court. However, if it's challenged in court, if the city of Fulton votes at the last minute and votes timely, you cannot count on the validity of this agreement.
And I discussed that with him too, and what he told me was that by virtue of us signing an agreement prepared by their attorney, we would have the upper hand in the court case on that thing, because their attorney presented to us, we signed it in good faith, it would go before a judge, and he would take that into consideration regardless of what Fulton does. That's what he told me. It's the same guy you apparently talked to that gave you a different information.
And Claudia, our attorney also has given us the same advice. And the attorney that we hired, we went out, we researched him. I have faith in our attorney. If you don't have faith in your attorney, then there's absolutely nothing we can do. We're helpless. That's what we pay an attorney good money for, and we're paying Ron Carr good money. I don't see why we can't take the advice of the attorney that we've hired, and you have to.
He suggested himself that in matters like this, if we want to get a second opinion, go ahead. If you went to a doctor...
And Howard did. Am I correct?
That's correct.
He did. Of the attorney for the Association of Towns.
There are 2 parts to that answer, Jim.
Well, Claudia,
If it's not questioned, if it doesn't go to court, if they don't vote at the last minute, there's too many ifs in that.
Okay, I think we've discussed this enough.
to.
I'm going to hold any more comments.
Yes.
I'm sorry, we've just repeated this too much, Colleen. I'm going to make a final statement, and my statement is that I've known Don Bullard for 20 years. Don Bullard has never lied to me. He told me they were going to sign this, and until I have reason to believe that Don Bullard cannot be trusted, I'm going to trust his word on that. And so I am going to go on with this and let the board vote. If they don't want to ratify it, so be it. But that's how I feel about the issue as far as the annexation issues goes. This is not going to hurt our attempt at whatever we may decide to do in the annexation, because we will have a meeting on the 19th. I will call a special meeting immediately following Fulton's meeting, and we can make a decision that night if Fulton doesn't hold up to their promise on passing this. So I'm going to ask you to poll the council, Barb.
Councilor Pierce?
I'm going to vote aye for this agreement that we, for the reasons I stated before.
Aye.
Councilor Smart?
No.
Councilor Warner?
I'm going to vote aye because in good faith, we did authorize a supervisor, and we are going to have a 19th meeting.
And Supervisor Rose.
My vote is not to authorize myself. My vote is to approve this motion. Aye. Next resolution, 94-107. Whereas the Town Board of the Town of Volney has heretofore duly adopted a resolution authorizing the issuance of certain serial bonds in the amount of $100,000 for the purpose of financing the cost of the collection of real property assessments duly authorized by town law, and whereas the Town Board desires to now provide for the issuance and for a bond anticipation renewal note in anticipation of the sale of the aforesaid bonds and other matters in connection therewith, now therefore be it resolved and ordered as follows. Bond anticipation renewal notes in the amount of $34,000. I'm sorry, I'm going to correct that to $32,000. I got a clarification from our attorney on that. We have a balance of $66,000, and this is going to be for $34,000, but the $32,000 I'm changing it to is what we'll have due after we make this payment, and that's what should be in there is $32,000. Shall be issued at the rate of 3.57% for the purposes aforesaid and in anticipation of the sale of serial bonds of the Town of Volney, heretofore authorized by said resolution entitled Bond Resolution dated February 13, 1992 for the issuance and sale of $100,000 serial bonds of the Town of Volney, New York for the collection of real property data and the revaluation of real property assessments in anticipation of sale of serial bonds of the Town of Volney in the amount of $32,000 for the collection of real property assessments. Would someone like to move that?
So moved.
Do I hear a second? We don't. Okay, I was going to say we don't have a choice in this. We've already committed to this. This is just a formality to finish paying it off. I actually voted against it the first time.
Is this an original $100,000 bond?
This is on the original $100,000 bond, which we've already paid $34,000 of. Okay, and this is the second installment of $34,000. Any other discussion by the board?
Right, we basically either do this or we owe the full balance. So
That's right.
This makes it so we pay in
That's right. This makes it so we make one installment and then we can pay the other half next year. Any discussion from the public? Barbie, poll the council.
Councilor Pierce?
Aye.
Councilor Ridgway?
Aye.
Councilor Smart?
Aye.
Councilor Warner?
I'll vote aye. I did not support this, but it's got to be paid off.
Supervisor Rose?
I'll vote aye also. I didn't support it initially, but it's an obligation we owe, so I'll vote aye. Next resolution, 94-108. Move to increase the fees for dog licenses from the current $2.50 for spayed and neutered animals to $5 and unspayed and unneutered from the current $7.50 to $10. I'll move it.
I'll second it.
Any discussion from the board?
Yes. Just a minute. We didn't revise this once, Harold. Howard, you didn't find anything?
The only thing I was told about it was that if it was a local law, we would have to have a public hearing and create a new local law, but we can find no local law in the safe that indicates that it was ever a local law. So we're assuming because of that it's an ordinance that we can simply change by resolution.
No, if it's an ordinance, ordinances have to be changed by ordinance. You only can change it by resolution if it's a resolution.
Okay, call it an ordinance. We don't need a public hearing according to our attorney, though. Do you understand differently, or?
But I'm saying we never found anything where prior years we were charging more than this. Am I right?
No. The current amount we're charging is $250 and $750, and it's been that way for quite some time, from what we can determine.
This is what I thought it was all along, so.
Yeah.
Well, I knew
You were right,
it was-
$750.
No, ordinances require a public hearing. But if there's nothing on the books, then it was a resolution.
No, that's what I'm assuming. That's what our attorney told me to look to see if it was on the books anywhere as any kind of a local law or anything, and we can't find anything. So if it turns out that there is one, then
No, what I'm saying is the current is $750. At some time it got changed from $5.
so you remember it being $5 at one time, and it was changed to
That was
$750.
whatever the state was, that's what it was. The state didn't go up to $750, did it?
What is state right now, Barb? Do you know what the current amount the state?
$250 and $750.
$250 and $750. So the minimum the state requires is that amount.
I'm not gonna dig through my records to try to find it.
Well, in any case, the reason I'm bringing this up is because we do need to increase those fees, not only to cover our expenses for dog control, but also there's an awful lot of dogs that aren't being licensed, and we need to do a survey and get those dogs on the rolls.
This would put money into an account where we could do enumeration on
Right.
dogs and help defray the cost of.
That's right. It should be taking care of itself, the license fees, but it's not. Which means that the taxpayers are subsidizing, even the people that don't own dogs are subsidizing the people that do, and the problem that exists because of it. So that's basically what it is.
I also think you and Claudia are saying the same thing about local law and ordinances, because I think that a resolution's a resolution, local law and ordinance, I believe, are very nearly interchangeable, aren't they?
A local law has to be filed with the state.
Okay.
I think that's all we did.
But we can find neither anywhere in the books.
I think that's all we did is when the state raised their, I think we had an option, but it was when the state raised their fees, we raised ours to match the state.
Okay. Any comment from the public on this local law? Marie?
Howard, these were changed. When I was serving as the chairman of the board, Craig Howard, Mike Audekirk, and I did it. I don't think this 250 is correct.
What do you
didn't
think?
find anything on that. Craig Howard, the justice.
Okay, if it's not correct, what is it?
I think what it was $5 and $7. I mean, the current 250 for spay. I know everything was increased up to 250 each. I don't have the exact figures, but I do know that it was changed.
So when you were on the town board, it was changed to $5 and $7.50?
And I don't know what the exact fees were changed to, but I know that 250 is not correct at all.
Do you remember how it was done, by a simple resolution or
What we
ordinance?
did, no, I think we had to have a public hearing.
You did have a public hearing.
We had a public hearing, and it was voted on, and I think it was, I don't know. Craig Howard could tell you, because he's the one that worked on it with us, because he was the justice at the time. They come to us and said there were some problems with fines and things, and when we went through and raised everything all at once, and there was an ordinance and everything drafted.
Well, what I was saying, old dog license, the stubs over here in the town clerk's office should reflect on the increases, but they don't.
They never did it, but I do know that it was passed, because Craig Howard and Mike Lockard and I sat down and did it. We passed it, it's got to be in the minutes, and then now whether the town clerk ever reflected that increase, I don't know, but it was passed. And
Okay. Well, it's obvious we need to do more research on this before we make a decision, so I'll move to table it if no one objects to it.
Second.
Barb, will you poll the council?
Counselor Pierce?
Aye.
Counselor Ridgway?
Aye.
Counselor Smart?
Aye.
Counselor Warner?
Aye.
Supervisor Rose?
Aye. Okay. New business. Does anyone have any new business on the board? Any new business?
Well, Howard, the only thing I'm going to bring it up on the new business is we got out on the east end of the building, a light got broke off, and like make arrangements to get the light replaced. There was two out there. One got broke a year ago. The other one is broke now. So if you wanted to turn the lights on over that entrance, there's no lights there.
Okay.
And eventually, I'd like to see on the entrances, the rest of them get replaced.
Okay. Is building and grounds, you can take care of that for us?
Well, I won't be all done all at once
Right.
because of the cost.
Okay. Okay. I've got a few things under new business I want to bring up, and they have to do with some letters to the editor. And I see Mr. Woodard here tonight, and I'm bringing this up not to put you on the spot, Mr. Woodard, but only because I have a sincere concern about trying to provide the people of this town with every option available to their government. And I know you were critical of my way of operating the town board here, and frankly, I don't know what else I can do to open this government up anymore. Unlike our last supervisor, every member of this town board has a key to my office, and everyone has access anytime they want to any of the records or any of the mail that comes into that office. Everyone has a key to their respective door. I mean, I don't know what else I can do. I've opened it up to the public more for comment. I've been maybe a little too liberal in that, and I was criticized for being liberal too, I guess, and maybe that's what they were referring to. But in any case, is there anything you can tell me that you'd like to see me do different? Because I'm willing to listen, and I will do whatever the people want. And if you...
After I asked Mr. Warner about that, a lot of people came up to me and criticized me for asking that, and I didn't think that was right. I just wanted to know why, before he did, he had this big concern, and now tonight he's voting no because he's under the gun.
I'm not talking about the minutes. I'm talking about the criticism of me not having an open government.
No, I said that that the new majority, and you said that it'd be more open to the public, and that it's more honest. And I don't think that's being very honest. I think the only reason that he voted no before...
You're talking about Jesse again. I'm referring to what you said about me.
In that, I said the new majority. And then I quoted what you said, which I was assuming that you were representing your team, that it would be more open and honest, and I don't think that Mr. Warner's being very open or honest.
Okay, well, I don't consider them a team. I think we're all a team here, including the people out there, but we're all in this together. But I'm just asking you what you'd like to see me do to open this government up more and be more receptive to your needs and be more honest, as you say. What would you like me to do? I'm willing to listen, and anytime you have a concern, please come to me. I will do that. If there's anything you have tonight that you want to tell me about, please do.
I have something I'd like to talk about, but I'll wait for public comment.
Okay, fine. There was another letter to the editor that was very critical as well of me and the board, and it came from a Van Amber, which, from what I've been able to determine, Van Ambers, there's no Van Ambers that own property in this town, there's no Van Ambers that are registered to vote in this town, and there's no Van Ambers in the phone book, so I don't mind criticism, but I prefer it not be anonymous. But if anyone knows of someone by the name of Van Amber that I haven't been able to dig up, please let me know, because I'd like to respond. That's all I have there. Is there any petitions from the public, other than the one we already received? Mike?
My name is Mike Cannon. Do I read this?
Is it a petition, Mike?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, please do.
We, the undersigned, wish to petition the town of Volney for a zoning change from industrial to B1 business. The property is located on Route 57 East between State Route 57 and State Route 481. This contains all three owners and 100% of the road frontage for the proposed zone change. Signed by myself, Dr. Day, and Fred Rayner signed. He is the new owner of Harris Pontiac. He'll be taking that over within a month or a month and a half.
Okay.
It's that strip of land right across from the new mall, and we're the only three there, and then it's open again before you get to Miller Brewery. And the other side of the road is all full.
Okay.
So we're the only three property owners there.
Okay.
Zone change from to what?
From industrial to business convenience.
To B1 business convenience?
Okay, could you give that to our town clerk? You only have one copy? Yeah, okay, I asked you to give it to our town clerk. She'll make copies for the board and myself, and we'll look into it as soon as we can.
I want a copy of that too. So, Marie told me to get a copy of this to go with this.
Mike, I know Barb and I know you, but for the record, could you state your full name and address, please?
Michael Cannon, Landing Drive, RD5, Fulton.
Any other petitions? Okay. Public comment. Charlie.
I'd like to...
I'm sorry, I just called on someone else. I'll get you next.
We'll let him go.
Okay, go ahead.
I'd like to know the procedure I have to go through in order to get a light installed where Mullen Road meets Route 3.
Okay, could you state your name and address for the record, too, please?
What's that?
Could you state your name and address for the record, too, please?
Your name and address.
Oh, Leon Jodway. My home address is 219 Erie Street, Fulton.
Okay, and you're asking about a street light or traffic light?
A street light.
Street light. At the intersection of Route 3 and Baldwin Road?
15 years, yeah, where Baldwin Road meets, there have been people killed there. And they weren't coming out of Pierre's cabin either. And, it's not funny. But 15 years ago, I applied for one. They said there's people ahead of you and you'll have to wait. There's businesses that have to have them. Well, that's a business there. Since then, I paid better than $30,000 worth of taxes. And they put a new one up where the Howard Road meets the Silk Road. And there isn't a house there within a mile away. No business there. And so, I mean, it seems like kind of folly. They're just seemed like pushing me around or something.
That may not have been the town that did that. It could have been Niagara Mohawk themselves or maybe the county.
No, Niagara Mohawk put the light on the Howard Road and Silk Road and 176 and the Howard Road.
Okay.
That was for their own convenience.
For their convenience.
So what do I have to go through in order to suggest I'm getting one there? Certainly the town of Volney has put lights up before.
You've made the request. I'll look into seeing what we need to do to honor it. I'm not sure we can and what it entails, but I will find out and get back to you. Could you give me your phone number also, if you don't mind?
593-6061.
And you are the owner of Pierre's Cabin, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I will look into it and I'll get back to you as soon as I can to find out what we need to do as a board to honor your request.
All right, there was, like I say, 15 years ago, and it seemed like with all that traffic, there's northern coming through there, and there's all kind of traffic there. It seems that there ought to be a good place for a light, let's put it like that.
Sure. Okay, we'll look into it for you. Thank you. Charlie?
I wanted to address what Councilor Pierce said earlier. He said that, yes, you could ratify the supervisor's signature because you'd agreed to do that, but you could still, because Fulton had not signed and they had ample opportunity at the last meeting, you could still bring up a resolution tonight to vote against annexation, which would be the safeguard, and I think that was a very valid proposal, and I'd like to ask Mr. Pierce if he'd like to do so.
I'm in agreement with the board. As long as they have their meeting the 19th after the city has theirs, I can go off until then. But if they don't want to have a meeting on the 19th, then I think we ought to pursue it tonight. Maybe we ought to get that settled first.
Yeah,
Need a meeting on the 19th.
I thought that we'd, do you want a motion to have the meeting on the 19th, or you're just going to call it, Howard? Because
I'll just call the meeting.
we are going to have one on the 19th.
Still express my reservation and concern that if that agreement's deemed invalid in a court of law, Fulton wins anyway, because all they have to do is not vote to endorse annexation, and all we have to do is not vote to endorse annexation also. So my great fear is that if we don't vote no prior to the 20th, there being no case law to support us, even though we had an agreement, you could go to court and they could say Fulton had dirty hands, they were bad boys, but still holds.
The 19th is before the 20th, Charlie.
No, I know, but I mean, even if Fulton votes to extend the deadline, it does not necessarily mean that the courts will see that as a legal means to extend it, because the law was made by the legislators. It was not made by the people who have to abide by those laws. It's not up to us to amend the law, and I feel that by doing this agreement, what we're doing is we're attempting to amend the law, to amend the annexation law, and it's not within our purview as a town board or a city council to amend the annexation law. I don't think that it's going to hold up, and that if we decide to vote no later on after the 90 days, if they take us to court on it, we will probably lose, because we can't on our own decide that we're not going to abide by the law. I greatly fear
That's not what our attorney is telling us, though, Charlie. You know, you can believe what you want, and I could believe what you believe, but I trust our attorney's legal opinion.
not a legislator, he didn't make the law.
No, he didn't, but he's a lawyer, and,
He's a lawyer, and lawyers are designed to argue.
I don't think he would want to tell us something that would jeopardize his good name either. I don't think he would do that. No. Yes.
I'd like to ask, what positive feelings do you have about putting off voting no? Do some of you feel that you might, in a future date, want to vote for the annexation?
No, I'm not saying that, but
Why all the hesitation about voting no tonight, putting it on the floor just the way we feel, that we don't want to be annexed, we don't want our land?
because by doing that tonight, we would cut off any options we may have in this whole issue, and I'm not prepared to do that. We don't know what our options are yet.
That's right. There shouldn't be any options in any direction. We don't want them to take our land.
We know that, and we've all said that up here on the board.
Then what can they offer you that would change a no vote?
It's not so much what they would offer us. There's a lot of factors involved in this decision. It's not just a matter of emotionally saying we don't want it to happen. There's more to it than that.
There's a lot of factions operating, not only just Volney, but City of Fulton, Oswego County, which has been just as devious as John Lincoln, and I'm beginning to wonder just how far into state this has been devious also.
We may never know that, but this board has been meeting in executive session several times the last month to discuss issues relevant to this that the public is not privy to yet. And if you can trust us on it, we will work to the best interest of this town in the final analysis, and that's what we're doing. I can't discuss it with you tonight because then it might mess up any options we may have available. So if you can trust us with that, that's all I'm asking. And we will make a decision before any deadline the way we feel this town needs to go. That's about all I can tell you.
I just don't understand. I would think there's no annexation and we'll say no to the end. And I don't understand, Jim, or your hesitation. And Jess and Bill, I thought I was really proud of him in his speech tonight. And then it folds. I can't understand anyone hesitating.
Once you got the meeting on the 19th, you can vote on the 19th.
But I don't understand what's better about the 19th.
Well, you won't until you know what we've been discussing in executive session. And I would tell you if I could.
Better be good. That's all I got to say. It better be darn good.
Colleen?
This isn't about annexation, surprise, surprise. This is about something I've been wondering about for a long time. By the way, my name's Colleen Scott. I live on Flood Road in Volney. Other people have these lease agreements that Larry Raleigh and Bruce Clark made with Wide Waters and with the county. I kept coming back to this one thing, and I couldn't understand it. On the second page of this lease agreement, it says, State of New York, County of Oswego, on the 29th day of December, 1993, before me personally came Bruce N. Clark, to me known to be the individual described in and who executed the foregoing instrument and acknowledged that he executed the same. Notary Public, Bruce N. Clark, State of New York, number 4006716, qualified in Oswego County, commission expires 5/30/95. Well, it just didn't make sense to me, and so I called the Attorney General's office because I just couldn't understand this, how somebody can notarize their own signature. And before I called the Attorney General's office, I read a copy of some of the notary laws, a thing that they send around when you want to be a notary. One of the things in here says interest as a disqualification. A notary public should not take an acknowledgement to a legal instrument to which the notary is a party in interest. So, you know, it just didn't make sense. So I called the Attorney General's office and they said, well, that's a very serious offense. And they said, have you consulted anybody else? And what I told them was that, yeah, our town of Volney Town Board had asked for an investigation by resolution by the Oswego County Legislature. The government committee and their outside counsel, Joseph Rodak, attorney at law, were asked to address this question as part of a larger investigation. So, just to back myself up, I got a hold of the letter that Mr. Church wrote back to you guys, which I'm sure that you're all familiar with, but maybe not everybody in the public is familiar with. And there's a special section in this letter that addresses this question. And it's from Mr. Frank Church, Oswego County Legislature, 46 East Bridge Street, Oswego, New York, 13126. And it says it has to do with the investigation into alleged conspiracy of the IDA and Bruce Clark, County Attorney. Well, I'm certainly not going to bore you with this whole letter because it's very long, which I'm sure all you are aware of. But there's one section in here I want to read to you. And it says, finally, with regard to the question raised by Mr. Rose as to why County Attorney Bruce Clark notarized his own signature on the agreement, County Attorney Clark responded that he did not know what agreement Mr. Rose was referring to, and that he did not notarize his own signature on any of the agreements to his knowledge. Well, I will show this to anybody in this room that wants to see it. It's right here. Also, so this is the first agreement that starts the whole pile of agreements that they have. Now, according to this notary law, that's a nullity. It's null and void. Then after talking to the Department of State, which the Attorney General's office referred me to, I also found out that you can't notarize someone's signature who is in the same transaction, like Sue Rowley and Larry Rowley and Bruce Clark are all ones that transferred land to Widewaters. So when you go to the next agreement that says where Susan P. Rowley, residing at R8 Fulton, New York, party of the first part, and Widewaters Pierce Drive Associates, part of the second part, and she's transferring her land over, you turn the page to the notary part, and it says, on the 29th day of December, 1993, before me personally came Susan P. Rowley. To me known to be the individual described in and who executed the foregoing instrument, and acknowledged that she executed the same. Bruce N. Clark, Notary Republic, State of New York, number 4606716, qualified in Oswego County, commission expires 5/30/95. So this doesn't make sense to me because they're both parties in the same transaction. So according to the notary law, and according to the lady that I talked to at the Department of State, this also is a nullity. So if the first two agreements are nullities, how can they go along with this great big long pile of papers where they keep transferring this to this, to this, to this, to this? So the Department of State wanted me to file a complaint, which I hope I have the right to do as a private citizen. I hope I'm not going to be sued or anything. So I did. So I filed a complaint, and the lady at the Department of State said, we're real sorry, it might take 2 weeks for us to get back to you. I said, well, I thought that was real fast for the government, you know. So this is dated April 5th, 1994, and I sent the complaint, and I read you basically what it says. It wants to know the nature of your complaint. It says, on December 29th, 1993, Bruce Clark, Oswego County Attorney, signed and notarized his own signature on the land transfer of his own property, and also notarized the signature of Susan P. Rowley, who is the wife of his business partner, Larry E. Rowley, in Pierce Drive Development. Both transfers are part of the same business transaction in which Larry E. Rowley, Susan P. Rowley, and Bruce Clark and Pierce Drive Development transferred the land to Widewaters Pierce Drive Associates. And then the next question is what I already read to you, because it says, have you gone to a lawyer or to a court or another agency? So I'm just just waiting on pins and needles to hear back from this Department of State, because if, they assured me that they weren't baloneying me, and that what I read in the notary law was true, so these are the first two agreements on the land transfers. So I just wanted everybody to be aware. If I get involved in litigation, you guys can take up the collection. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Woodard.
Yes, something that was said last month by Mr. Pierce kind of concerns me. He made the statement about the hospital. He said the hospital can still go there if they wanted to go there, if that's the best place for it. But I don't think it's the best place for it. You don't think the hospital should go in Volney?
I don't think the hospital should go where it's mostly accessible for older people. A lot of these nursing homes and everything, most of us hope to reach old age, and when we do get up there, we hope that we don't have to go to a rest home, but if we do, we like to be probably located someplace where the most residential facilities are, where your relatives live and stuff like that. And if you're say if you're 80 and your husband's 78 or something, and he has no way, and his wife, vice versa, husband is the person that puts in a rest home out 10 miles from the city or something, he might have a hard time going to visit his spouse or her spouse. There's a lot of factors when you look at these things that I'm not against the hospital, but do we really need a hospital? If you put a hospital in Volney, one thing you got to look at, you still have to have an emergency room in the city of Oswego. You have to have an emergency room in the city of Fulton. When you have an emergency room, then you got to have an operating room. So you still got your hospital facilities in the two towns, and with the population in our county, sometimes you have to wonder if these things are done in the taxpayers and public's interest. And when you got major teaching hospitals nearby, if you have to, and a lot of the services will be duplicated, even or maybe triplicated, for the fact that you still have your emergency rooms and stuff like that in each city.
You said, do we need the hospital in Volney? Yeah, I think we do. You realize that only out of the patients in 1992, only 31.6 of them went to Fulton. An equal amount went to Oswego. 36.8 went to Syracuse. There's also, I got a whole list of things that will be coming. Care for cancer patients, care for disease of the kidney. There's a whole list, and you're welcome to have it. I don't understand. There's so many benefits to this, including 730 jobs coming to the hospital, 80 to the nursing home. There's going to be an average of 100 workers will be on site during the 15th month construction of the nursing home. There's just a whole list, and it goes on and on about the benefits of this hospital. And the one in Oswego, if you've ever been to Oswego, it's just not up to date. And the mental health is across the river, which the state doesn't want it there. At this place, it'll be all in one facility. When someone goes to mental health over there, you know what they're going for. At this place, when they go in the hospital, they go off to their side. You don't necessarily know what they're there for. It gives them some privacy. I could just go on and on about this, but I don't understand any problems with having the hospital here.
Like I say, when everybody's got their own opinions, and before I make a final decision on anything, I have to review everything and look at all aspects of it. You know, it's not that you're for or against the hospital. You know, there's a lot of other things to look at in the reviewing process and stuff like that.
Is Mr. Spencer going to come and speak to the four people here? So.
Oh, I'm sure he will. You know, when it gets to the point where we're going to be involved in it, yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. Mr. McCann?
And Silk Road. I was hurt here in the town of Volney last year real bad. The city of Fulton, the hospital there couldn't handle me. Oswego couldn't handle me. I was taken to Syracuse. There is a need for another facility in this area, more modern. I'd like to address that point. Along with what this girl said, just keep in mind, Bruce Clark is an attorney. You've been advised, keep our butts covered, will you? They do make mistakes.
Marie?
I just have a question. Could you tell me who did the author of this propaganda that you're presenting tonight? Did you do independent research?
Some of this is out of newspaper articles. Some of it did come from Mr. Spencer. I also talked to other people involved in the town and on the county level about it. And I'd be glad to give you some of this information. You can check it out yourself.
No, I was just wondering who did your research, if you did your own research?
The first person I called was Mr. Spencer to find out what are the benefits of the hospital going.
Who's Mr. Spencer?
He's the Oswego Hospital administrator.
And he's the one who promoted the hospital, is that correct?
Yes. But he wasn't the only person I talked to. I did call around to verify what he said. Matter of fact, I talked to Charlie, and I talked to Jim, and I talked to other people to find out, because I'm not going to believe what one person says unless I verify it. And from what I can tell, everything he said was honest.
Sir, you had your hand up earlier.
Hey, I'm Gene Ropolewski. I didn't want to speak on this subject, but a friend of mine talking about a better hospital, I think we could stand one, that I worked with. He's a volunteer fireman who works on a rescue squad, and he said, if anything ever happens to me on the job, he said, I want you to throw me in that van and take me to Syracuse. He said, don't let him take me to either one of these hospitals here. He's seen a lot of stuff. Just a layman's point of view, but this is how he felt.
Anyone else? Yeah, I want to give everyone else an opportunity before we come back to Colleen. Okay, Colleen, it's your...
The only thing I wanted to say is that, to talk about this pro or con for the hospital, the only thing I have to say to the county legislature is, if you're going to run sewer and water lines at one end of our town, then I think you ought to have to run sewer and water lines at the other end of our town that you couldn't help us with because you got legal advice from your attorney that it wasn't legal to help us. So I guess I'm a little confused how it can be legal to run sewer and water lines at one end of our town where some other people want it, but we can't help Volney run sewer and water lines at the other end of our town because some other people want that too. Thanks.
Thank you, Colleen. Charlie.
I wanted to address a little bit the Chamber publication that came out recently with the close look at the annexation process by Jerome Marvita. There are a couple of things I'd like to get into here. But to begin with, I'm very concerned about the Greater Fulton Chamber of Commerce's consistent and strident push to have the River Glen Mall annexed into the city of Fulton. The 350-plus members, of which I am one, did not decide this. We weren't even asked. The 5 officers and 14-member board of directors made this decision for us. Of those 19 people, 7 are also members of the Neighborhood Action Committee. Ann Mirabito Snyder, president of the chamber, is chairman of the NAC. Larry Rowley, the director of the chamber and member of the NAC, owned, along with his wife and county attorney, Bruce Clark, the land which the Fulton Chamber wants annexed to the city, and he petitioned to have that done. Other chamber members on the NAC are Werner Drone, Ed Boehner, Millard Sullivan, Michael Pollack, and Bruce Phelps. This group does comprise a very large component of the Neighborhood Initiative and Neighborhood Action Committee that did that original retreat. I'm sure there are many, many things about the Neighborhood Action Committee, about the Neighborhood Alliance that are very good and doing good things. My concern is that portions of the people representing it have consistently made statements about the annexation and pushed for it, and now the chamber, who's consistently said that this was a win-win situation that should be annexed into the city, did as their sponsor, had as their sponsor Jerome Mirabito, who did the annexation spotlight. He says it's defined as an alteration of boundaries of a county, city, or town, or village, which has the effect of adding adjacent territory to it. It represents one-way municipalities may acquire land. The state municipal annexation law sets forth the exclusive statutory procedure for annexation. He's saying that nobody else has a right to do anything with it. It's exclusive statutory procedure for annexation. Step 1 is filing. The owners of the property sought for annexation, file a petition. The municipality does not initiate the proceeding. Within 60 days after filing the petition, a joint public hearing is held involving each municipality. Issues raised at this hearing are limited to the petition's validity and whether an annexation is in the overall public interest. Step 3, yes or no. Within 90 days of the public hearing, the governing board of each municipality must rule either for or against annexation. If either board decides that annexation does not serve the public interest, the other governing body can apply to the appellate division for adjudication if they wish to pursue annexation. Now, it says in settling the dispute, in disputed annexation proceedings, the ultimate legal question is whether the overall public interest is promoted. The factors which may be considered include, but are not limited to, effects on territory proposed for annexation, effects on the municipality which is to be annexed, impacts on municipality from which it is being taken, and effects of any special districts in the territory. Example, what constitutes overall public interest? Obviously, there are 3 substantial litigation. There has been substantial litigation on its subject. Examples include ending fractionalized police protection, increased fire police protection, and development of land currently undeveloped by the locality in which it is now sitting. It says they're more likely to succeed if they will not cause substantial revenue losses to the municipality from which the land is being acquired, and the municipality getting the land is best able to provide the essential development services like water and sewer. Now, he says a recent court decision, the city of Rensselaer versus the town of North Greenbush, parallels the facts as they exist between the city of Fulton and the town of Volney. And the appellation decision to grant annexation of 129 acres to Rensselaer cited the critical concerns listed above. However, it doesn't have much at all to do with our case. I have a condensation in the town topics from the most recent Talk of the Towns book. Rensselaer, the situation, annexation of some 129 acres by the city of Rensselaer from the town of North Greenbush. The territory at issue is currently unfit for residential development because it lacks adequate water supply, and the town is unable to supply either public water or sewer. Now, we are able to supply water, and we can provide a package system to provide the sewer. The town admittedly cannot raise the funds necessary to become a joint user of the existing water system utilized by the city, and cannot independently supply the territory with public sewer in the future. Also untrue for us. The city is willing and able to supply immediate water and sewer so that residential development, which is desired by the owners within the territory, may occur. The city has adequate educational, police, and fire protection services to cover the territory. The town will lose 0.15% of total tax assessment. Residential development will indirectly benefit the town by increasing the tax base of the county. Annexation approved. Again, this does not very closely follow ours. As far as fire protection goes, we have mutual protection agreements which the courts have upheld as being adequate protection. In other words, what we can provide them and what the city can provide them are the same. What really most closely follows ours is the situation of Middletown. That was an annexation, except for the size of it, that was an annexation of 2,049 acres by the city of Middletown from the town of Wallkill. The size of the city would nearly be doubled in that case. The area is wooded, is an agricultural area without current need of water. So much of the area consists of wetlands, floodplains, steep slopes, and capable of further development. Although the city and town have the capability to supply water and sewer services to the area, the town already has plans in place to provide those services on demand. The city is already exceeding the safe rate of removal of water from its reservoirs, and an infiltration flow problem in its antiquated water system makes it a less efficient system than that of the town. Fulton's water and sewer system is antiquated. It goes on to say that the city selected boundaries of the parcel to be annexed by omitting residents it believed would vote against annexation in a referendum, which they also did. They cut a strange line by going across 481 to Quality Inn. The annexation will split the town into two non-contiguous parcels, which we have too. It leaves that little section with Harris, Pontiac, and a couple of other businesses there, pretty much surrounded by the city, a very strange cut. And certain surrounded by the city. Decision, annexation was denied. I'd say that much more closely fits our situation than the town of Rensselaer, which Jerome Maravito voted. And again, I have to implore you fellows to please vote before the 20th against annexation. Jerome Maravito was the one who brought this up. It was his idea, and he is the city attorney.
Yeah. Howard, I wanted to comment on the ED zone. It comes up in the paper all the time. I see the letter to the editor from Bill. Your picture popped up, the Syracuse Business News, hit my desk this morning, and there's Howard. And I really don't understand the vote yet, why you guys voted no. Bill works in a plant that's got plenty of help from economic development outfits, Onondaga County. Jesse works down the site. That's an economic development site. And I never realized with all these write-ups, I didn't realize that you were a fireman for the city of Fulton. Yeah, I thought you had, you know, just a sign company. But it just seemed like we did it because we were mad about the annexation. It's the only... Can I just finish, ladies? This is the first time I showed up.
I explained it to you outside.
But with the, you know, it seems like everybody was mad, and that seems to be the vote, what happened. And the next thing is going to be, in order to file for annexation, you have to cause a hardship on somebody to make a hardship. So if Fulton gets the economic development zone now, and the can plan comes along and says, hey, we want to be annexed, you know, then you're going to lose them, then you're going to lose the brewery, and then I'm going to have to sell my house because I won't be able to pay the taxes. And that'll go for a lot of other people in Volney. And I don't know if you've thought about that. The town board comes off as real anti-business. Whether you know it or not, you know, talking to people on the street.
Well, people just don't understand our position, I guess, because we're not anti-business by any stretch of the imagination. As far as annexing the can plant and Miller's, I don't think the reasons could be just because they want tax breaks. I don't think that's a reason for annexation. I don't think it would be recognized. If you want to understand more why we voted the way we did, I'd refer you to an editorial in the Syracuse papers a few weeks ago on corporate welfare. And that explained it fully, why we did what we did. It had nothing to do with animosity. No, we're not paying for it, sir.
Development zone, we're going to pay for part of that.
We're going to pay the state share of it, but that will be so small because it's spread out across the entire state. If it does come here, though, we'll not only pay the state share still, we will pay the local share, the county share. That's where our biggest concern was.
See, well...
And also, the other thing is, if Miller, the Philip Morris Company, is going to find a new use for the facility, the EDZ zone would not help them. It is a benefit. No, it wouldn't, because it has to be new.
Well,
it has to be new. It has to be new or an expansion.
And
only on the expansion if they expand.
And I was the one board member that voted for the EDZ, and I tend to agree with you. And the reason that I agree with you is because if a subsidiary or something of Miller comes in, I agree with it, it's a 5-year. But if a new company comes in and buys that plant, then they would be eligible for EDZ funds. And this is what bothers me the most, is I agree with you. We are exhibiting out in the community an anti-business climate.
And 3 days after we voted no, Miller's got a separate deal from the state. If we had voted yes, they would have been put into a pool and maybe have gotten help in July if they were chosen, and it wouldn't have benefited them if Philip Morris found a new use for the plant other than selling it, and at this point they have not even appraised the plant. It takes a long time to sell industrial properties. They are obviously not actively looking for a buyer if they haven't even had an appraisal yet. They encouraged us to not vote for it.
Who's they?
And Michael Chuck.
Well, Ken Michaelchuk sure didn't sound that way to me. He might have told that to you, but I didn't hear it.
I have an article here, it says "Killing the Goose," and it's quite an article to read through, but the last paragraph is a lot of the problems. It says, in the last resort, New York State's problems aren't economic. The state has a great deal going for it. The problems are political. New York State politicians, many Republicans included, are praying for a national recovery strong enough to lift all ships, even the leaky listing New York State economy. With a high-level tax structure, a relative small recovery will translate into substantially high tax revenues. But even that won't do much for those empty plants in the Hudson Valley humming again. Not without real political reform and moratorium of all kinds of state and local spending. Here's another one paragraph where a company that was in Binghamton was costing $6 a workers' compensation premium for every $100 in payroll, went to Pennsylvania and paid $2 for every $100 of payroll. Well, it is, Gene, it's statewide. It's not local.
I understand, but you guys are waiting for the state to do something for you. You live in Disneyland. You have to take advantage
I'm not waiting
of,
for the state,
you
but
have to take advantage of situations that come up for the town of Volney. Don't wait for the state assembly to help you, or they'll bury you.
they're trying to bury us now.
Well, I pay the same taxes you're talking about. I know what you're talking
Well,
about.
just in the last few days, your EDZ just had another failure in Onondaga County. It was a ice thing where the taxpayers got paid $12.5 million. Bad investment. The taxpayers are getting tired of subsidizing these failures. They're not living up to the jobs that they promised. I've seen fellow people in Syracuse with EDZ with General Motors, Fisher Body. They got EDZ money, and every employee in that factory lost their job, and they moved everything, all the money they got in there, they moved it back to Detroit. There was a lot of Hammer Mill here in the circle, they got EDZ money. What do? They just laid off the 120 people because they don't have the business. But it's,
Yes, they did.
Chrysler, one thing about it, you people keep telling me that Chrysler got a gift. What gift did Chrysler get?
They got bailed out by the government,
Right.
and
See,
the interest on that loan, even though they paid it back, was subsidized by the taxpayers.
There you go again. Chrysler never got a loan from the federal government.
All right, we're not here to debate this issue tonight. I'm offering, Bill, please. We're not here to debate the issue tonight. We're here for public comment. We're not going to sit here and debate that issue all night. I'll entertain any comments, but no debates. Yes, sir, Mr. McCann.
I don't want to debate the issue with you, but because New York State pays a higher electric bill than any other state, Reynolds Metals, who purchased the can plant next to the brewery, it is now the highest thing. This week, they told us by the 20th of this month, we had to make like $3,000 in concessions per employee for the next 3 years to stay open to build $1 million substation that would have been partially paid for had we been accepted by EDZ. So you can sit there and tell anything you want. It's going to cost me $3,500 a year for the next 3 years. So I'll tell you what I think of anything you read about Chrysler or any of them. It's going to cost me $3,500, and I vote. I vote every single time.
Reynolds and Newman wouldn't be eligible for EDZ grant money. They have to add new jobs. They wouldn't be adding new jobs.
New substation.
They wouldn't qualify under that. You have to add new jobs, not replace existing jobs. They wouldn't qualify.
Power come under it.
I believe they'd qualify.
We qualified. I know we qualified.
Okay.
Believe me, we had an interest in it. I probably read a lot more literature than you did because because I had a real interest in it, and now I have a real, I'm gonna lose $10,000 in the next 3 years.
Okay.
Can I ask one more question?
One more question.
When you took the survey, and everybody was like 20 to 1 against it.
We didn't take the survey, the unions took the survey. We got the response from the survey.
Well, there was comments here that, like, Jesse said he talked to 30 people.
No, they
28
called him. They
28
called him.
said they called him, yeah.
Right. Because of the union putting the ad in the paper soliciting their comments to
Yeah.
us. Right.
And I'm wondering if these people knew that maybe the plant they work at was included in the EDZ zone.
Well, that may or may not be. I can only tell you, I'm a small businessman, and my utility bill was $1,200 for December and January. Now, there's a lot of other small business people out there trying to make it too. We aren't entitled to any of these breaks. Only big businesses are. Now, what about us small people? Nobody seems to think about us, okay? That's why I felt the way I did about it. The other thing I want to say is, I'm not going to mention names of the cities, but there's a sign shop in another city in New York State that I have a good friend that runs. He is moving his shop to another city because of an EDZ zone. Now, that city could very well be the city of Fulton if they get an EDZ zone. What's that going to do to me if he gets his utility rates cut in half, if he gets to get investment credits, if he gets tax breaks, and I don't? I'm not on a level playing field anymore with him. What does that do for the state of New York? Nothing. What does it do for Fulton? It may help them out for a short term. But that's it. It's creating more problems. That's what I see. That's why I voted the way I did, and I'm more convinced of it every day since it's happened that I did the right thing, based on what I'm hearing, what I'm finding out. Okay? It sure is.
In business, it'll never happen.
It certainly
There's
is.
no such thing as a level playing field.
Well, they cry about it when they want it, and then they cry about it when they don't get it. So either way, you
A
know.
little bit higher for yourself by hustling, somebody else comes along and hustles a little better.
No, I'm sorry. I did what I did, and it's over. Mr. Kestner. Fine. Okay. Alan?
I live in Volney, and partly in response to this, I'd like to say 3 things. I pay... You don't like my jokes? I'm not going to tell any tonight. I pay 18... Did he laugh? In my business, I pay 18 cents a kilowatt hour. 18 cents. Bottom line, 18 cents. You take the number of kilowatt hours, you divide that into the money you pay NIMO every month, 18 cents. That's a lot of money. I'm not in any EDZ. They're trying to get electric down there. I know they pay, what, $500,000, he said, at Miller's? That's a lot. They use a lot of electricity. I don't use much, but I'm paying 18 cents a kilowatt hour. If Miller's had to pay 18 cents a kilowatt hour, they'd have been gone from here a long time ago. The second thing I have to say is I agree with what Jesse said in that article there. It's a political problem. It's not an economic problem. The third thing I have to say is read tonight's paper. The surplus, New York State surplus for the last fiscal year is $1.5 billion, and they're, what's this, the 14th? They're 14 days late on the next budget, but last year they have $1.5 billion left over that they don't know what to do with. They'll find something to do with it. Could I ask you one question? I hope you can answer it in 20 seconds. For those of us who came in late, what happened on the annexation? I'm sorry. If you
Nothing.
Nothing? Okay. I'll watch it on TV.
I'd just like to make 2 comments. The first one is that some things were said about the hospital here, and everybody has their own opinion, but I do know a lot of people who would rather go to Fulton Hospital for the care that they get and the quality of care that they get. And I, as a person who works up in Syracuse, and I have to take people to the Syracuse hospitals, and I have sat in their emergency room for 8 hours and been relieved. So people, I hope everybody lives through it. The other thing I would like to mention is Bill Pierce's letter about the annexation and the problems that Fulton faces. I thought it was excellent, and I hope the people from Fulton read it and adhere to it. And the other thing is I've been on the planning board and the zoning board, and it's the first time that I have ever received updates on the zoning law, and it was really great. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Future meetings, May 10th, 1994, 7 p.m. will be bill signing and agenda preparation. May 12th, 1994, 7 p.m., a regular town board meeting. And I'm calling a special meeting April 19th. That's a Tuesday evening, next Tuesday. As far as the time goes, it's going to be tentative, but we'll say 9 o'clock, but it'll be based on when Fulton adjourns their meeting.
Where?
Oh, the meeting will be here, yes.
How are we going, well, we'll go to that meeting.
Well, you'll have to go to the meeting to find out, or just be here at 9 o'clock and wait for us to get here, whoever's going to the meeting, one of the two.
May 4th for zoning update meeting at 7 o'clock?
Oh, okay, I didn't have that on here. Okay, May 4th is the next zoning update meeting, 7 p.m.?
Yep.
Any other meetings that anyone wants to add? Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Barb, will you poll the council?
Counselor Pierce?
Aye.
Counselor Ridgway?
Aye.
Counselor Smart?
Aye.
Counselor Warner?
Aye.
Supervisor Rose?
Aye. Thank you all for coming.